In the previous task, we got an error message when you run the macro because we didn't assign a name for certain ranges, right? So in this task, we want to kind of resolve that kind of situation, or to handle a little bit better way, okay? Because we might happen that kind of similar situation for other codes, right? So let's open RAM3 worksheet again, and once again our ranges are only defined on these two worksheets, so this range doesn't have any name yet, right? Okay, so similar situation like before, and open Visual Basic, and we know when we run this macro again with on this worksheet, we are gonna get error message again, right? So let me just run through that to see, okay, like that. Okay, then let's do something about it. Just below this line, we need to put on error, go to error message, okay? And right after these two lines, we want to add on error, go to 0. Okay, and we're gonna do this. We are gonna do these parts of the coding if you don't have any errors, right? But if you have an error, then we need to do something, right? So right just before the end line, we want to put error message, okay? And error message should looks like, okay, let me put yeah that, okay, doesn't like it. MSG box, and it's bad input output range, okay? Okay, so we have that much. So you understand what's going on, right? Without assigning the range name, if we run this program, we are going to get an error. In the previous task, we checked it out and we realized we need to give the name for that range. So and we did it and run it again. But in that case, we knew what caused that problem, right? But let's just assume we run this program long time later, right? So we have an idea when we run it that error message is not kind enough, so we have no idea why that which one caused all the trouble, right? So when you make your code, you expect that kind of situation, then you might give that kind of code, extra code, right? So you could give your own error message to yourself, okay? Or any user of that program. And this is the part, right? Because we expecting a range titled area, right? And assigned to a new name for that, for the Visual Basic program. But if you don't have it, then this program doesn't understand it, right? So you need to say something about it just before it happens, right? So when they run this part, it realizes there is something wrong about it. So when that error happens, go to error message again, and error message is here, right? So it's just simply calling that line, right? So when you have that, whenever you see go to, then it's just looking for that kind of number or string, and just ignore all these lines and just jump to that line, okay? That's what this one do, okay? So it just go over there and it just shows message box, and inside the message box you can put any information you want to give to yourself or the user, okay? So it says bad input output range, so you realize, oh, I need to the range has some problem, right? Then you can check, oh, the range doesn't have any name yet, something like that, right? So these are the only thing right now, but be careful. If you just keep this way and finish your coding, then you're in big trouble, because just imagine you give all these names and everything for your range and run it, then it's gonna skip this part and go to here, right? Because you have names. And just run through this whole thing. After you finish it, for this written part, it goes to here. So even you finish all this coding nicely, you're gonna see your error message, right? Because there's nothing stopped there, right? So you have to give this exit sub at that moment, right? So the format of this coding looks like this. You start this subroutine, and if you don't go these error parts, then it's run through and it's gonna stop here, and it's just ignore the remaining part. But if you go to the error part, then you have to do this, and error part, then it goes to here, right? Okay, and it should stop there, right? Because you just don't want to do anything until you give the names or something like that, right? So it's kind of the opposite, the alternate ways to finish, right? You start from this sub, but it's going to end in the middle of this coding, and in the middle of this coding, whenever error happens, then it just jumps to this line and finish it. Okay, so let's just run this. So far we didn't give any names for the range, so if you run it, it shows bad input output range. Oh, okay. Then we just open it and try to what's going on for ranges, and we realize we didn't give any name for that, right? So you have to give the name. And if it's already pre-existing and you know all the size of it whatsoever, and you can give some kind of comment here, right? The range area is like A1 through G13, right? I remember, something like that, right? So later when you see this code, you know which range should be assigned for the name area. Or same thing for here, right? Okay, so hopefully it's working with that. Okay.